indoor mats there's one that's 12 inches by 36 inches or 30 inches. That one you can sit on, put your feet on, put it on the floor, put your feet on it, put it on your desk, put your hands on it. You can actually put it in your bed and sleep on it. And so we call it a universal type mat. And so it's just a thin mat that has a little bit of foam backing, but the top part of it is carbon. And it's when you connect it to a ground cord and then connect the ground cord to the ground, then it's conductive, meaning that the electrons will flow up the ground wire and then up the ground cord and then into and flood the surface, the conductive surface of these mats. There's 3 or 4 different sizes, I think, and or more. But anyhow, so they're conductive. They're what we're doing is replicating the earth in your bed or in your home. This is called a ground plane. So if you can imagine a 1 foot by 3 foot piece of earth, you go outdoors, grab it and bring it indoors, except it's got to be connected to the earth. But we're replicating standing or sitting or lying barefoot on the earth when you lay on a pad, because the pads are equalized with the earth, meaning the negative free electrons that they migrate up into the pad. Then when you lay on it or touch it or hold your feet on it, then your body absorbs those free electrons and equalizes with the pad, which is equalized with the earth. And as long as you do that, stay there, then you can't have inflammation because these free electrons will automatically migrate into the body rapidly and reduce inflammation and pain in the body. Now, you got to remember that when I say that, a lot of people are going to have flaring arthritis or lupus or MS, and they're going to put a patch on, and they're going to get significant relief in 5-10 minutes. People who have are flaring arthritis and things that have been going for a long time. It's like, I'll use a better example, one that I'm more familiar with right now is MS. If you take a person who has MS and they come in and they're holding their hand because otherwise they don't have control of the muscles. And so they're in a lot of pain, a lot of stress. But anyhow, you can put an electrode patch right in, a ground patch in the palm of their hand, and you can sit there for 5 minutes and the pain will come way down. And I can honestly, because I've been doing this for 25 years, I can honestly say, you no longer have MS. Because what was causing the MS was you had a shortage of electrons in your body, and the neutrophils were oxidizing the myelin sheath and exposing the nerve. And that's what MS is. So as soon as I ground you, then your body is flooded with free electrons and it stops the fire. But there's pain and damage that has been done. So there's 2 kinds of pain. One is that hot burning Vicodin pain. That's inflammatory pain. That dull, subtle pain when you've had damage for a long time. That means protect me. Don't leave me alone. But it's not that hot burning. So what you do is when you put out the oxidative or the hot burning pain, then the immune system can redirect its efforts from trying to clean up the damage that's being continuously created by the remaining radicals. So once you stop that process, ground the body, put that fire out, then the immune system can go about cleaning up the damage that was created by the oxidative stress. So what I'm saying, some people are going to get instant relief. It's a miracle. Some people, you're going to get significant relief with the inflammation, but the healing process is going to take some time. Just like the body, just like breaking a bone, it takes a little bit of time. But that's how the mats are used. And the mats, the main mat that everybody buys is the mat you sleep on, and you can put it on your mattress, over your mattress pad, and then just put a sheet over the top of it and lay down and go to sleep. And then the electrons are going to migrate into your body all night long, because during sleep is when your body heals and restores and repairs itself. So that's when you want to put the fire out. You don't want any inflammation in your body during sleep. And that's kind of why we went that direction. And so anyhow, the best thing to do is go to the site and look at the different mats and items that are there. And then it's really an experimental, depending on what's going on with yourself or members of your family. It's best to start. One person starts. I would say 99% of all products that we've sold over the last 20 years, they're primarily purchased by a woman that's between 35 and 55 who has an inflammation-related health disorder. She buys it, uses it for a few days, and her pain comes down or whatever. She gets good relief, good benefit. The first thing she does is sends it to her mother who needs it, or gives it to her mother, one or the other, who needs it worse than she does in her mind. And then she'll buy another one, use it for a while, give it to her sister or girlfriend. And then she buys another one. And because it's something she trusts that she can give to help people cope with their issues, because it's really a challenge to understand all of this, because grounding is not something we all are familiar with. It's not in our language. I mean, grounding a child is, put them back, bring them back to reality, ground them, get them back to normal. That's all we're doing here, but we're doing it electrically. And it's easier there's a caregiver in every family, for every group of people. And she's the one who slips us under the sheet at night. You don't even know it's there because she knows it'll help you. And other than that, she's taking care of the children. She's the caregiver of that group or that family. Did I help? Was that helpful?
That was tremendously helpful. And I mean, you used the word miracle, like what you said about folks with MS, that is miraculous.
Yeah, it is.
We have just a few minutes left for our Q&A session, and we're going to bring in now Ainsley. Let's go ahead and unmute you. Hi, Ainsley.
Hi, Ainsley from Trinidad. Question I have to ask. In you said 20 years of grounding, in our world, is there a particular country, place that you did research on that promotes the best grounding? Like, for example, I know you might say the beach because we're near water and X, Y, and Z, but is there a particular country that you, in your research, like let's say Puerto Rico or let's say Costa Rica, wins in grounding?
Well, what happens is all of the resort areas or the tourist areas, most of them are by beaches, and people go there and they take their shoes off and they get grounded. They don't even know. They just know they feel better. And a lot of people with certain types of issues, they'll go, because they're on meds, like when they're living in New York, that they go to Miami and spend some time there on the beach and whatever, and all of a sudden they have symptoms that indicate they're being over-medicated. So they reduce the meds. Then when they come back to New York, they have to increase the meds back, because in Miami they were barefoot, and in New York they're wearing, high-styled shoes. So it's, and there's no country that I was trying to think. There's no country that is unique. It's the beaches, wherever they are, and the warm weather, where people are free from routine. They're on vacation or they're tourists or whatever. No, I don't know how to answer that question other than go to, wherever there's a beach.
Thanks for that. We appreciate that. And looks like we have time to bring in Janet. Janet, I'm unmuting you. Okay. Hi, Janet.
Hi, how are you? I just had a question for you. I have fibromyalgia actually, so I'm hoping that this would be helpful for that. If I were to buy a product, like what would be the product you suggest? Like, would it be the sleeping mat or the mat on the floor? And also for the mat, like when you're working, can you use it all day, like on your feet while you're working underneath you? And is there a time limit that you should be using for, or can you use it for prolonged use? Just wanted to know. And also if you recommend the pillow as well. I was just on the site. Thank you.
I'll start with the latter first. In nature, Like when I was a kid, we were grounded most of the time, barefoot. And I grew up raising around cattle and so on. So we actually slept in the pasture a lot when we were kids, and we loved to sleep in the barn, but everybody wasn't grounded. But anyhow, in nature, you would be grounded 24/7. In nature, you can't have inflammation. When you disconnect from the earth, you're no longer in physical electrical contact with the earth, then your body becomes depleted of free electrons and your body becomes positively charged. And then the immune system, doing its normal thing, creates inflammation because it's no longer grounded. So anyhow, you can't be grounded too much. It's like the animals in the wild. They don't have cardiovascular disease. They don't have fibromyalgia, MS, lupus. They don't have cancer. It's only animals who live indoors that are ungrounded. So more grounding is better. Any grounding is good. More grounding is better. But if you have chronic health disorder, then you need to get grounded and stay grounded, whatever form you choose, even if it's just a bracelet or patches or whatever, or just going outdoors and burying your feet in the backyard 30 minutes a day or something, or just sitting in the backyard with your feet on whatever. You must do something to get grounded, and then stay grounded as much as you possibly can. I want to say one thing about fibromyalgia. I've spent years and years working with people with, fibromyalgia is, pre-MS, pre-lupus, pre-this, pre-that. And basically what happens is most people that I have visited with over the years who have this family of challenges is something happened in their life where there was a great loss. It could have been a family member died. It could have been loss of a mate, or it could have been loss of a job, or it could have been whatever, or relationships and so on. But anyhow, but what happens is they go into a fight or flight state, meaning the body, you have elevated sympathetic nervous system or elevated cortisol, and the cortisol, builds up in the body, and then your adrenals, which kind of dampen the cortisol as time, goes to maintain, health or stability. They become exhausted because they can't handle chronic fight or flight, or they can't handle chronic stimulation. So they become exhausted. And that's what we call adrenal fatigue. And then adrenal fatigue, then sets up, anxiety, irritability, and then oftentimes depression, whatever. But anyhow, so it's the cortisol loop. And so what's happening is if you lived in nature, it's like an animal in the wild, they get chased, a coyote chases a rabbit, the rabbit, this cortisol skyrockets to, and then he'll sit there after the coyote stops because he runs out of energy, looking at the rabbit, and the rabbit's sitting there, quivering because his life has just been threatened. But the rabbit can ground out. I mean, he'll have a visceral shake after a few minutes, and then he'll shake off the cortisol, he'll ground out the inflammation, and then he goes back to eating grass like nothing ever happened. So grounding does play a big role in that. But women, especially, you get up in the morning, and if you got kids, that's a stress. I call them, everything's a coyote in your life, because you got to take care of the kids and the husband. You got to fix meals, do whatever. You got to go to work. You have to, do all these things, put up with the finances, pay the bills, whatever. You open the mailbox, out jumps a bunch of coyotes. And so they stimulate a fight or flight response, and so it elevates cortisol. So this chronic little jumps in cortisol all day long are going to exhaust your adrenals, and then they're going to, fibromyalgia comes in that right after that. And so I hope this rings true and is worth saying to you. I don't know you enough, and I don't know about your case, but anyhow, so the main thing that you need to do, grounding is going to help stop that cycle, get rid of that inflammation, so you don't get the chronic anxiety, the irritability, and ongoing into inflammation, full-blown inflammation. But you're very sympathetic, you're very sensitive because your adrenals are exhausted. And so you need to learn as much as you can about your adrenals and reducing stress in your life and restoring your adrenals. and get grounded at the same time. Grounding is going to put the fire out. It's going to reduce the pain, but you are going to be a little more sensitive than other people about it because your adrenals are exhausted. I don't know if I'm accurate here, but in this particular situation, but grounding is essential for anybody who has who's living in a chronically elevated sympathetic state or who has a lot of stress in their life. You've got to ground that stress out. You can't do anything else other than just come home at night, go outdoors, take your shoes off, put your feet on the earth, and drain it away like the coyote, like the rabbit. And if there's snow, then shovel some of the snow out of the way. Your feet won't warm up. You just put them on cold concrete; they'll warm up in a few minutes. I can't explain it in this short of time, but find a way to ground yourself under any circumstances. This is important. This is like sunshine. It's nature. It's part of who we are. Grounding maintains the electrical stability of the immune system, meaning it prevents chaos. It prevents autoimmune disorder. It prevents inflammation. It prevents fire.